صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Dear scholar, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we will begin the Holy Night with a recitation of the Holy Quran with Brother Mushtaba. Please help me welcome him to the podium with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم سعرت وإذا الجنة أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين مطاع ثم أمين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة. تسبق الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, brother, for that wonderful recitation. Can we all have another loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, just a few announcements before we begin. Inshallah, we'll be hosting our sahras, our bonfires outside tomorrow and after tomorrow. Those are held after the program, so around 12 o'clock. Second, inshallah, when we leave tonight, if we could have just a few volunteers stack up chairs. We have Friday prayer tomorrow, and so we'd like to just stack up the chairs. Inshallah, we'll have individuals move them to another hall. Also, our programs, do run over costs. So if we could ask for 2 sponsorships, each of $100, or 4 for $50. If you see MYC individual, me or Brother Ali, who's in the back, just approach them after. Inshallah, we can accept them. Also, June 5th, which is Wednesday, we'll be having our Eid festival here at the IIA. It's from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., so after prayer. We'll be having bouncy houses, fun games, festival games, so everyone is welcome to join. Now, without further ado, please help me welcome Samahat Sayyid Saleh Qazwini, بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. One of the most important books that every Shi'i, every follower of the Ahlul Bayt, every devout follower of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib needs to have is a book by the name of Nahj al-Balagha. This is a book that every person should read and every person should have and constantly refer back to, because it's full of wisdom, it's full of words and statements and letters from Imam Ali alayhi salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. This book, Nahj al-Balagha, was compiled over 1,000 years ago by a scholar by the name of Sharif al-Radhi, or As-Sayyid al-Radhi. As-Sayyid al-Radhi, he passed away year 406 after Hijrah, or 1015. Right now we're in 2019. He passed away 1015, meaning over 1,000 years ago, As-Sharif al-Radhi left this life. But As-Sharif al-Radhi, this scholar, he left such a great imprint on time where until today, people benefit from the work that he compiled. This book, Nahj al-Balagha, was the work, and it was a lifetime work of this great scholar, Al-Sharif al-Radhi, As-Sayyid al-Radhi. In it, he compiles 238 khutbahs, 238 sermons from Imam Ali alayhi salam, and 79 letters from the Imam alayhi salam, and 489 wise words, wise sayings from the Imam alayhi salam. Of course, Sharif al-Radhi, he had a brother by the name of Sharif al-Murtada, As-Sayyid al-Radhi and As-Sayyid al-Murtada. And these were two individuals who contributed so much to the development of the Shia thinking and to the Shia heritage that we have today. Our books, a lot of them go back to these individuals. In fact, Sharif al-Radhi is known only for Nahj al-Balagha. his brother Sharif al-Murtada, who lived much longer than Sharif al-Radi. Sharif al-Radi lived up to 45 years. His brother, Sayyid al-Murtada, lived longer and became the marja' of his time, became the grand scholar of his time, and people would refer back to him as a scholar. There's a beautiful story regarding these two brothers. And this story is mentioned by Ibn Abil Hadid al-Mu'tazili, who is a Sunni scholar. He's written a commentary on Nahj al-Balagha. And many other scholars have also written commentaries on Nahj al-Balagha. It is said that it is said that Shaykh al-Mufid, have you guys heard of Shaykh al-Mufid? Shaykh al-Mufid was a grand scholar, and he was the teacher of Sayyid al-Radi and Sayyid al-Murtada. Shaykh al-Mufid, he has a dream that Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam comes to him, and she's holding the hands of Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein, and she comes to him and she tells him, Ya Shaykh, allimhum al-fiqh. Oh Shaykh, teach them the fiqh, teach them the Islamic jurisprudence. So Shaykh al-Mufid, he wakes up, he's shocked. He sees in his dream Fatima al-Zahra telling him, teach Hassan and Hussein the fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence. So he goes to class and he's teaching. He has a hawza, he's teaching in his class. And while he's teaching, he sees the mother of As-Sayyid al-Radi and As-Sayyid al-Murtada. She comes, and they were known Sayyids. Their father was a Sayyid who was imprisoned at that time. This was during the Abbasid Caliphate. Their father was imprisoned. The mother, she comes to Shaykh al-Mufid and she tells him, oh Shaykh, teach my two sons the fiqh. And they are Sayyids. They are from the descendants of Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen. So now, Sharif al-Radi, Sayyid al-Radi, he grew up and he was on a mission to compile the works of the Ahl al-Bayt, the words and the statements of all of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. So he began with Imam Ali, and this became its own project, referred to as Nahj al-Balagha, the peak of eloquence. Nahj means the peak, and Balagha means the eloquence. So this scholar, he came and he gathered this book, and this was over 1,000 years ago. He came and he compiled the words and the statements and the letters of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And this book, Nahj al-Balagha, came to be known as one of the most important books in the Shia library. In fact, in the Muslim library, many Muslim scholars, non-Shi'is, have written commentaries on Nahj al-Balagha, and they have discussed thoroughly the sermons and the speeches that Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, and they are mentioned in Nahj al-Balagha. In fact, scholars say there's over 300 commentaries of Nahj al-Balagha. Imagine a book that is so important that there are over 300 scholars that have written commentaries on this book. And many of them are non-Shi'is, such as Muhammad Abdah, Subhi Sabah, Ibn Abil Hadid. These were scholars from the Sunni school of thought who wrote commentaries on this great book, Nahj al-Balagha. Now, from the Shi'i perspective, Nahj al-Balagha is considered an authentic book. It is accepted. Although we don't have a chain for every single sermon, every single hadith that is mentioned in Nahj al-Balagha, but we understand from it, from the many clues that we have, that this is authentic and these are the words of Imam Ali alayhi salam. One is that there are more than one scholar, many other scholars before Al-Sharif al-Radi that have narrated these sermons from Imam Ali alayhi salam. So this is a clue. It's not only this man who has come and brought this work together. Second, you have the words of Imam Ali alayhi salam. They are at the peak of eloquence. No one could come and make up words like the words of Imam Ali alayhi salam. You read Dua Kumail, for example, or you read Dua al-Sabah, you read these supplications from Imam Ali, you know when you read these, some people today, they come and they say, okay, even Dua Kumail, we don't have an authentic 100% chain regarding Dua Kumail. But can you say that someone else would come and produce something like Dua Kumail, or someone else would come and produce something like Dua al-Sabah? It has to have come from someone who is a ma'soom, someone who is divinely appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, regarding Nahj al-Balagha from the Shia perspective, it is totally accepted, 100%. From the Sunni school of thought, there are some scholars that accept it, and they say that these are the words of Imam Ali. For example, Ibn Abi al-Hadid and other scholars. However, there are some who come and say, this is not the work of Imam Ali. These are not the words of Imam Ali, but these are the words of Sharif al-Radhi. This scholar, he came and he placed all of these sermons and letters, and many of them are his own work, his own works. He came and he placed them. Now, why do some people have a problem with Nahj al-Balagha? The problems with Nahj al-Balagha are not about the wise words and the letters, and 99% of the sermons of Amir al-Mu'mineen, no one has a problem with. The sermons of Amir al-Mu'mineen are all fine. No one has a problem with them. There is one sermon in Nahj al-Balagha which goes at odds with the mainstream Sunni narrative. And that is a speech by the name of al-Shaqshaqiya, the sermon of al-Shiqshiqiyya. This is the third sermon in Nahj al-Balagha. It is because of this sermon of Amir al-Mu'mineen that some, they come and they say, this is not the work of Ali ibn Abi Talib, but rather this is the work of al-Sharif al-Radhi, the scholar who died over 1,000 years ago, the scholar who compiled Nahj al-Balagha. However, this is a false claim for several reasons. One is that this sermon, al-Khutbah al-Shaqshaqiya, you could find the sources that go back, and we could find this khutbah, this sermon, in sources before the birth of al-Sharif al-Radhi. There are over 27, 28 sources that have offered this sermon, al-Khutbah al-Shaqshaqiya. And many of them, they are before the birth of al-Sharif al-Radhi. So if someone wants to come and say, this sermon in Nahj al-Balagha, al-Khutbah al-Shaqshaqiya, was fabricated by al-Sharif al-Radhi, then how can you find sources of it, traces of it, before al-Sharif al-Radhi? The fact that we find it before al-Sharif al-Radhi is enough clue, is enough proof that al-Sharif al-Radhi had nothing to do with it. You go back and you see other scholars, and then you find different scholars. So how can they all come and corroborate together to come and make up something like this? Now, what's the reason why al-Khutbah al-Shaqshaqiya, there are many who are at odds with the sermon from Imam Ali alayhi salam? The reason is because the mainstream narrative today in the Sunni mainstream is that there was a lot of filtering. There was a lot of filtering of the Islamic history to come and make it seem like Imam Ali and the caliphs who came before him, there was no issue with them whatsoever. Imam Ali had no problem with them. They had no problem with him. And in fact, some, they come and they say, this differences that you see today, this was created by the Shi'as after Imam Ali and after Imam Sadiq and after the Imams. They come and they say, Imam Ali had no problem with the people who came before him. And Imam Sadiq had no problem with those individuals. None of the Imams had any problem whatsoever with those individuals who took the positions of power, the positions of authority after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So they come and they say that it's the Shi'as who make such a big deal about this, and there's no traces from the words of Imam Ali, which he said anything which may give the perspective or the impression that Amir al-Mu'mineen was unjustly wronged and the Khilafah was taken away from him. This is one. And a second narrative that we commonly hear being discussed is that Amir al-Mu'mineen was not greater than those who came before him. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was the fourth. And typically in the mainstream Sunni narrative is that Amir al-Mu'mineen is the fourth in the level of who's the best after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So for them, it's the first Khalifa was the best, and then the second, and then the third, and then Amir al-Mu'mineen. However, now when we read this khutbah, and I'm going to talk about it, when we read the sermon of Amir al-Mu'mineen, we see that it goes at odds with this narrative that's there. So today, either some people, they come and they say there was a problem, there were differences between Imam Ali and the others, and Imam Ali was greater than the others, or they come and they say, no, this khutbah was fabricated by al-Sharif al-Radi, and it does not have anything to do with Imam Ali alayhi salam. Another very important point is that when you look at the sermon, and we're going to talk about it, when you look at the sermon, you see that it's all truths. Nothing out of it is made up. Everything is truth, but the only difference is that it's being said by Imam Ali alayhi salam. And the truth hurts some people. Sometimes the truth, people can't stand in front of the truth. The truth, sometimes it's painful. But this is the history of Islam. This is the Islamic history, my dear brothers and sisters. Today, they come and they give the impression that it was all lovey-dovey between them and there was no issue whatsoever. Okay then, if there was no issue, why do you have only 50 years after the death of the Prophet, Imam al-Hussein is slain in the middle of the day in the land of Karbala? Why do you have Amir al-Mu'mineen killed? 3 battles waged against Imam Ali alayhi salam. Why was Amir al-Mu'mineen left in the house and not given positions of authority? So it wasn't as what some come and make it seem like. So here, this is a khutbah by the name of al-Khutbah al-Shaqshaqiya. And the reason why it's named al-Shaqshaqiya, this is the third sermon in Nahj al-Balagha. The reason why it's called al-Shaqshaqiya, it's referring to a word where Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says towards the end of the sermon, he's talking to Ibn Abbas, he's talking to his cousin Ibn Abbas, and he says, Hayhata ya ibn Abbas, tilka shaqshaqatun hadarat thumma qarrat. Basically, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he came in the sermon. This is the only instance where you find in Nahj al-Balagha where Amir al-Mu'mineen is talking about the caliphate and how his haqq, his right was taken away from him. So later on, Ibn Abbas tells him, tell us more. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, this was a shaqshaqa. This was basically, sometimes when you just say what's on your mind, sometimes when you come and you say what's in your heart, in your mind, and then you take it back because people sometimes can't handle the truth. And shaqshaqa in Arabic, it refers to the foam that comes out of the mouth of a camel. Sometimes the camel, foam would come out of the mouth of the camel, and then it would go back in. So Amir al-Mu'mineen says, this is basically what's in my heart, what's in my feelings. I came out and I said it, and now that's it. I'm not going to talk more about it because some people can't handle the truth. So this sermon, it begins by Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, and you could find this in Nahj al-Balagha. Amir al-Mu'mineen begins, he says, Ama wallah, laqad taqammasaha ibn Abi Quhafah, وإنه ليعلم أن محلي منها محل القطب من الرحى ينحدر عني السيل ولا يرقى إلي الطير. He says, beware by Allah. He says, beware by Allah, the son of Abu Quhafa, referring to the first Khalifa, Abu Bakr. He says, dressed himself with the caliphate, and he certainly knew that my position in relation to it was the same as the position of the axis in relation to the hand mill. So basically, he says, taqammasaha. Taqammasaha is when you come and you wear something that's not yours. Something that does not fit on you. You come and you try to put it on, That's called taqammas. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Wallah, he says, Ama wallah laqad taqammasaha ibn Abi Quhafa. He took something that did not belong to him. وَإِنَّهُ يَعْلَمُ, and he knows, أَنَّ مَحَلِّي مِنْهَا مَحَلِّ الْقُطْبِ مِنَ الرَّحَى. He says, my position in this caliphate is the position of the bar that is holding the mill. You know, they used to crush the grain with a mill. There's a metal in between. That is the focal point. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, مَحَلِّي مِنْهَا مَحَلِّ الْقُطْبِ مِنَ الرَّحَى. He says, my position, my relationship to the caliphate is the position of that iron bar, that axis that's holding everything. Meaning I am the one who has control of everything, and it's something that belongs to me, the khilafah. And then he says, يَنْحَدِرُ عَنِّي السَّيْلِ وَلَا يَرْقَى إِلَيَّ الطَّيْرِ. He says, the flood water flows down from me and the birds cannot fly up to me. What does that mean? This means I'm at the peak. Someone who's at the peak, the flood water flows down from the peak and the birds cannot reach the peak. Amir al-Mu'mineen saying, I am at the peak. Now, some people, they come and they say, how can Ali ibn Abi Talib, this man who was so humble, how can this man come and praise himself in such a way? Amir al-Mu'mineen is not praising himself to be praised by people. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's trying to come and state a reality. This is a position of leadership, something that belongs to the Imam alayhi salam. And he needs to clarify to people that this is something that belongs to him. It's like Rasulullah, he comes and he tells people, call me Rasulullah, call me the Prophet of God. Can someone come and say, is Rasulullah is being conceited here? He's telling people follow me? No, because Rasulullah, he is the Prophet, he's coming and he's saying the truth. Amir al-Mu'mineen is also saying the truth. Now, Amir al-Mu'mineen goes back. He says that they came and they dressed themselves with this position of leadership. And then he says, وَطَفِقْتُ أَرْتَئِي بَيْنَ أَنْ أَصُولَ بِيَدٍ جَذَّاء أَوْ أَصْبِرَ عَلَى طَخْيَةٍ عَمْيَاء. He says, I saw two options in front of me. Either I come and I fight with a broken hand. I fight with a wounded hand. What does that mean? That means Amir al-Mu'mineen does not have supporters. He says, either I come and I fight with a broken hand, an injured hand, meaning I don't have supporters, or I am patient. I am patient in the darkness of tribulations. I have to deal with the patience. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen says, فَرَأَيْتُ أَنَّ الصَّبْرَ عَلَى هَاتَ أَحْجَى. So I found that the endurance thereon was wiser. Being patient was more important, and I took on the task of patience. And then he says, فَصَبَرْتُ وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَذَى وَفِي الْحَلْقِ شَجَى أَرَى تُرَافِيَ نَهْبًا. He says, I was patient as if there's something in your eye. Can you be patient if there's something in your eye? Or there's something blocking your airways. He says, this is how it hurt to be patient. This is how difficult it was for Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam to be patient. I watched the plundering of my inheritance. Ara turafiya nahba. And then he says, till the first one went his way, but handed over the caliphate to Ibn al-Khattab after him. حتى مضى الأول لسبيله فأدلى بها إلى ابن الخطاب بعده. He says the first, he ruled for 3 years, and then he came and he handed it over, the khilafah, something that was he wrongfully took. He came and he took it and he handed it to the second Khalifa. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen says, فَيَا عَجَبًا, how strange. How strange is it? فَيَا عَجَبًا بَيْنَمَا هُوَ يَسْتَقِيلُهَا فِي حَيَاتِهِ إِذْ عَقَدَهَا لِآخَرَ بَعْدَ وَفَاتِهِ. How strange is it that during his life, he kept saying, no, I don't deserve the khilafah. The khilafah does not belong to me. And on his deathbed, he says, I wish I had not taken the Khilafah. And the first day he came and he took power, he said, I am not worthy of the Khilafah. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, how strange is it? He said that it does not belong to him, and he wanted to give it up and retire from it during his life, but he came and he handed it over to the second one at the moment of his death. لَشَدَّ مَا تَشَاطَرَ ذَرْعَيْهَا. And then he says, they both took up the dar'. The dar' is the breast, the feeding place, the breast of a camel or a cow or an animal. And he says they both took on and they held on to this. Meaning that it was something that was worked on. With both of them they came and they held on to this position. Then Amir al-Mu'mineen goes on to describe what happened with the second caliph. He says, فَصَيَّرَهَا فِي حَوْزَتِهِ خَشْنَاءَ يَغْلُظُ كَلْمُهَا وَيَخْشِنُ مَسُّهَا وَيَكْثُرُ الْعِثَارُ فِيهَا وَالْإِعْتِذَارُ مِنْهَا. He says, this one put the caliphate in a tough enclosure where the utterance was haughty and the touch was rough. Mistakes were plenty, and so also the excuses. Meaning that they started stumbling. There were many problems that were caused. There were many problems that were being caused. So he says, one in contact with it was like the rider of an unruly camel. If he pulled up its rein, the very nostril would be slit, but if he let it loose, he would be thrown. Basically, he's saying that the situation was very difficult. You can't do anything. And Muslims were being led and misled in the wrong way. Then he says, فَصَبَرْتُ عَلَى طُولِ الْمُدَّةِ. But I decided to be patient. I decided to be patient throughout the whole time. وَشِدَّةِ الْمِحْنَةِ. Nevertheless, I remained patient despite length of period and stiffness of trial. The second Khalifa ruled for over 10 years. And the first Khalifa ruled for 3 years. So now Amir al-Mu'mineen is sitting in the house for over 13 years. Over 13 years, and he's watching what's going on with the message and the legacy and the heritage of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. حَتَّى إِذَا مَضَى لِسَبِيلِهِ. Until the second one was about to die. He was attacked and he was stabbed. So he was about to die. جعلها في جماعة زعم أني أحدهم. He came, before his death, he came and he gathered 6 individuals. And he placed Imam Ali, one of those 6. He came and he placed the Imam, one of those 6. He says, مضى إلى سبيله زعمها في جعلها في جماعة زعم أني أحدهم فيا لله وللشورى متى اعترض الريب في مع الأول منهم حتى صرت أقرا إلى هذه النظائر. He says he came and he placed it in a shura, in a matter of counsel. But good heavens, what had I to do with this consultation? Where was any doubt about me with regard to the first, that I was now considered with the others? So Amir al-Mu'mineen is trying to say, I'm greater than the first one. The first one, did not give it to me. The second one did not give it to me. Now the second one, he came and he creates a panel of 6, and he wants to place me with these people. This is something very strange for Amir al-Mu'mineen, and this act of injustice towards this Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. And this is what happened. When the second Khalifa was passing away, he came and he gathered 6 men. One of them was Ali ibn Abi Talib. One of them was Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. One was Uthman ibn Affan. One was Talha. One was Az-Zubayr. And one was Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He came, and these were 6 men. He came and he told them, listen, we're going to put people that are standing outside with swords. You guys have to all decide on one person. And the majority wins, and whichever side Abdul Rahman ibn Auf is on, that is the majority. Is this a type of democracy here? The first, they came and they said it was a democracy. It was in the Saqifa, which was not a democracy. The second, it was a panel of 6. They have to decide. If they don't agree on one person, they're going to be killed. And the side that's with Abdurrahman ibn Auf is the side that's going to be victorious. He's the one who chooses. What kind of democracy is this? And Amir al-Mu'mineen, he comes and he says in Nahj al-Balagha, in the khutbah, he comes and he says, Abdurrahman ibn Auf was Uthman's brother-in-law. And Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas had hatred for Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. So it seems that it was programmed in a way where it's not going to go to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Whatever happens, it's not going to go to Ali ibn Abi Talib. The only person that was loyal to Amir al-Mu'mineen was Az-Zubayr. He was the only person who was loyal to Imam Ali. Talha, he went because he's from the tribe of the first Khalifa. And after the first Khalifa was chosen, there was some animosity between Bani Hashim and the tribe of the first Khalifa. So he came and he took the side of Uthman. And Uthman was already out of this. Now you have Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas is a man who had hatred. He knew exactly who Imam Ali was, but he refused to give it to Imam Ali alayhi salam, even though he knew exactly who Imam Ali was. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, do you know who his son is? Umar ibn Sa'd, the commander of the army that killed Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. This man, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he was one of the early Muslims. However, even after Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Khilafah came to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he refused to give the bay'ah to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He kept away and he did not give allegiance to Amir al-Mu'mineen. So what do you expect him to do if it's in a panel of 6? Now, the last one that was remaining was Abdurrahman ibn Auf, who came to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He tells him, I will give it to you, because he was the deciding factor. He says, I will give it to you, however, under the condition that you follow the sunnah of Rasulullah and you follow the sunnah of the shaykhain who came before you. You follow the sunnah, the traditions of those who came before you. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he comes and he says, I will take it and I will follow the law of Allah and I will follow what the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. I'm not going to go and follow the sunnah of anyone else. I have to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah. So he tells him that I'm going to give it to the third Khalifa, and Uthman ibn Affan, he was the one who took the Khilafah. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he comes and he says, how was it that I was placed with them when I should be in the ranks of the first? I'm greater than the first. How did they come and place me in this category? But then he says, لَكِنِّي أَسَفْتُ إِذْ أَسَفُّ وَطِرْتُ إِذْ طَارُوا فَصَغَى رَجُلٌ مِّنْهُمْ لِضَعْنِهِ. One of them, he went, his hatred towards Ali ibn Abi Talib, and that was Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. وَمَالَ الْآخَرَ لِصِهْرِهِ. And the second went for his brother-in-law. One because of his hatred, and the second went to his brother-in-law. And then he says, إِلَىٰ أَنْ قَامَ ثَالِثِ الْقَوْمِ. Until the third one, he came to power. وَقَامَ مَعَهُ بَنُو أَبِيهِ. His cousins, the people from his father's side, Bani Umayyah now, because Uthman was from the Umayyad dynasty. Now Bani Umayyah, they came into power. وَقَامَ مَعَهُ بَنُو أَبِيهِ يَخْضِمُونَ مَالَ اللَّهِ خِضْمَ الْإِبِلِ نَبْتَةَ الرَّبِيعِ. They started coming and looting the wealth and the money that belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like a camel comes and starts eating all of the grass as soon as spring starts. You see, the camel goes and it doesn't leave anything. It's so hungry, it hasn't seen anything. This is exactly how they came and they started taking the wealth that belonged to the Muslims. And Amir al-Mu'mineen begins to talk about the corruption that took place. إِلَىٰ أَنْ انْتَكَثَ عَلَيْهِ فَتْلُهُ وَأَجْهَزَ عَلَيْهِ عَمَلُهُ وَكَبَّتْ بِهِ بَطْنَتُهُ. He says, until his actions, the third, led the Muslims to revolt against him until they killed him. The Muslims revolted against him until they killed him. Now, the third Khalifa is dead. Now Amir al-Mu'mineen says, they came rushing to me. They came rushing to me, and this was in fact the only time someone was democratically, 100% democratically elected. That was Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. The first, it was a Saqifa, where only a handful of the Muslims were there. The second, he was appointed by the first. And the third, it was in the Shura, where if they don't choose it, they're going to be killed. And the side that's with Uthman ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, this time, Amir al-Mu'mineen, they came running to him. They came rushing to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, فَمَا رَاعَنِي إِلَّا وَالنَّاسِ إِلَيَّ كَعُرْفِ الضَّبْعُ يَنَاثَلُونَ عَلَيَّ مع كل جانب حتى لقد وطئ الحسنان. He says they came to me in so many. They came at that moment. Nothing took me by surprise but the crowd of people rushing to me. It advanced towards me from every side like the mane of the hyena, so much so that Hassan and Hussein were getting crushed, and both the ends of my shoulder garment were torn. So they came running to Imam Ali alayhi salam, begging him to take the leadership, where Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein were pushed. And he says, my garment was torn because they came begging Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then he says, they collected around me like a herd of sheep and goats. Then he says, when I took up the reins of government, one party broke away and another turned disobedient, while the rest began acting wrongfully as if they had not heard of the words of Allah saying, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ نَجْعَلُهَا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ عُلُوًّا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فَسَادًا. He says, after they came begging me for power, then one group turned against, one group rebelled, as if they have not heard the Quran, where Allah says, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ, the afterlife, we will give it to those who do not seek positions of power in this dunya. That's who we give the afterlife to. He says, as if they had not heard it. And then he says, بَلَا وَاللَّهِ لَقَدْ سَمَعُوهَا وَوَعَوْهَا. Yes, they heard it. And they knew very well, وَلَكِنَّهُمْ حَلِيَةِ الدُّنْيَا فِي أَعْيُنُهُمْ. They came, they started falling for the dunya. They fell in the traps of this dunya. And then he says, أَمَا وَالَّذِي فَلَقَ الْحَبَّةِ وَبَرَأَ النَّسْمَةِ لَوْلَا حُضُورِ الْحَاضِرِ وَقِيَامِ الْحُجَّةِ بِوُجُودِ النَّاصِرِ. He says, by Allah, I swear by Allah, if it was not a duty upon me to take the position of leadership, I would have thrown it away. And I was never after this leadership. I was never interested in this leadership. And then he says that this dunya for you, this leadership, أهون عندي من عفطة عنز. This leadership is less to me than the sneeze of a sheep and the sneeze of a goat. What's the value of a sneeze of a goat? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, this khilafah, this leadership, in my eyes, it's less than that, except that I have to fulfill a duty, except that I have to guide people, except that I am the hujjah of Allah, and I need to guide people and teach people. So he says, while Amir al-Mu'mineen was talking, a man from Iraq, he came and he handed Amir al-Mu'mineen a paper. He handed Amir al-Mu'mineen a letter. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was talking. This man came and gave him a paper. So he began to look at the paper. Then Ibn Abbas, he was there. He tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, finish, keep talking, please. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells him, Hayhata ya Ibn Abbas, tilka shaqshaqatun hadarat thumma qarrat. He says, no, Ibn Abbas. This was a shaqshaqa. This was something that I had in my heart. I said it, but now I'm going to rest. I'm not going to talk about it. And Ibn Abbas, he says, ما أسفت على كلام قط كأسفي على ذلك الكلام. He says, nothing broke my heart as much than the words coming out of the mouth of Amir al-Mu'mineen, what he was saying. It shows how he was heartbroken But then Amir al-Mu'mineen sees himself that he has to be patient, and it's very difficult for him to come and say the truth and talk what's in his mind. Of course, this is the khutbah, this is the sermon of Shaqshaqiya, this ends. Now, we do have instances where Amir al-Mu'mineen did talk about the injustice that took place against him. However, you find that there's a lot of filtering in history. There's a lot of filtering, and there are methods to try to silence Amir al-Mu'mineen and silence the narrative of Amir al-Mu'mineen. However, you could find some traces even in some non-Shi'i books where some of the authors, they forgot to take out something, or something slipped past them, where Amir al-Mu'mineen does talk about how he was oppressed, and he talks about how his right was wrongfully taken away from him. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us on the Sirat al-Mustaqim and keep us on the right path, the path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi at-tahirin. Let us raise our hands in dua. Ya Aliyu, Ya Azim, Ya Ghafuru, Ya Rahim. Anta al-Rabbu al-Azim, alladhi laysa kamithlihi shay. وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شهر عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور. وهو الشهر الذي فرضت صيامه عليه. وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من 1000 شهر. فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار في من تمن عليه. وأدخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلوات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.